Good afternoon, muchachos. Happy Thursday, January 25th. Be reminded, check in today, tomorrow, Zoom, 140 to 225, or email. We're talking the two-state solution today, and then you guys have a reading on Hamas, a new Palestinian group, a newer Palestinian group, terrorist group, political organization, really depends on your persuasion here, but you'll read about them today when we're done. We'll talk about Hamas tomorrow. But let's get into the two-state solution. Really a straightforward concept here, dates back to the original partition of Palestine. Very, very much like the name itself, the two-state solution, it argues for two separate countries, a Palestinian state and an Israeli state. The premise of it goes back to 1947 when the Palestinians and the Israelis more or less went halvesies, or were supposed to go halvesies on the region. Palestinians were going to get 50%, the Israelis were going to get 50%, and Jerusalem, the city of, was going to be an international region, not controlled by any one group, and that's obviously due to the religious, cultural implications of that city, right? Temple on the Mount, Wailing Wall, Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right? All of the religions trace their roots to there, so that was going to be left independent. The problem with the two-state solution, and it's lost its popularity over the course of time, is based on the fact that the Israelis have been able to acquire a significant amount of land. They've more or less taken more than half, 60% upwards of the Palestinian land that was supposed to be set aside for them. They've taken that land due to a variety of different conflicts. The 48-day war, the 1948 war, the 6-day war, the Yom Kippur war. For a lot of this yellow territory that you see on the slide here, that's now occupied, inhabited, and has been lived in by the Jewish people, by the Israelis. So if we're going to have a two-state solution, do we need to look at, or how are we going to solve the problem that the Israelis have more than half of the land? Is that going to require the relocation of Israelis? Is that going to require the relocation of Palestinians? What is to happen? Additional to that, the land that is remaining for the Palestinians has been encroached upon even more by the Israeli government and the Israeli people. The Gaza, the West Bank, they've been building settlements now for decades where they've slowly been taking more and more land from the Palestinian people. Is a two-state solution even possible? I don't know if we'll ever find the answer to that question, because I don't know if it'll ever happen. There's no question that the two-state solution, a separate Palestine and a separate Israeli country, is better than a one-state solution where they all are a part of the same country. I mean, that is more or less what we have right now. You have the Gaza Strip, you have the West Bank, they're both a part of Israel. The Palestinian people are not technically citizens, they're refugees. They are without a country. They live in an area that is more or less largely governed by the Israeli government when they determine that it's time to govern that territory. We know that the Israeli government will undoubtedly never recognize citizenship for the Palestinian people, making them citizens of Israel, because they have more people. The Jews, if they agree to a one-state solution, will give up a majority of their country, and we know from the past what they've gone through. They're not willing to gamble that. They want to maintain their majority. They want to maintain control of their homeland because they're worried about potential possible future acts of aggression, oppression, genocide, hostility, which has been their plight for thousands of years. It's been a long believed path to peace. But in the 21st century, I don't know if it'll happen. The Jews have taken a lot of land from the Palestinians. The Jews continue to take land from the Palestinians. Is there a redistribution? Is there a movement of people? And then we have the, the problem if, let's say, people aren't moved, they aren't relocated, the Israelis don't have to move, and the Palestinians don't have to move. If we just allow them to remain in two separate regions, Gaza and the West Bank, these are non-contiguous regions. They're not connected. What's often been the case throughout history is when one country is not connected by land from one place to the next, there's a potentiality of problems. We've seen this before when India was partitioned. When India was partitioned into India and Pakistan, Pakistan used to be in two different places. You had West Pakistan and East Pakistan. East Pakistan didn't fare very well in comparison to West Pakistan. It was smaller, more isolated, had more neighbors. And today, today East Pakistan is Bangladesh. So the fact that there's a non-contiguous component to take into it makes this a very difficult solution. When it was initially drawn up, when it was initially partitioned, most of these lands for the Palestinians are all connected to one another. But that is not the case anymore. Gaza is a very small region right here, and the West Bank is a much smaller region right here. Could the Palestinians thrive and be able to remain separated from one another? Oh, all right. We're off into Hamas. We're going to look at the new governmental leader, the new government as recent as 2007 in the Gaza Strip. You're going to read in this article, you're going to get a couple bits of information here. What Hamas is, how they came to power, all right? Should give you some insight as to whether or not they're a terrorist group or a governmental organization. And they're going to explain to you how Hamas is different from the other political group that more or less stems from the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the creation of the Palestinian Authority, which are very similar groups, the PLO and the PA. But there's two competing governments between Gaza and the West Bank. And again, this goes back to the two-state solution. Can two separate regions for the Palestinians exist in the 21st century? So you've got a reading, some questions to answer, have that done for Friday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, go Spartans.